dimension object. So we studied two methods. Like one was the parallel projection, other one was the perspective projection. So how the object will look when you're seeing from the front side, top side, and as well as when you're looking the object from the sideways. And after this, we studied one more thing called depth queuing. So where which was used to identify the front side and back side of an object. So what was this method? I'll just revise this method, and then we will go with the next topic. So see here, what we are doing means here, if I'm viewing from this direction, if my viewing direction is from here, so if I'm checking from this direction, or if this is my viewing direction for this object, so I can identify this as my front side of the object, and this will be back side of my object. So if I'm looking from this angle, so now, so now, how do we include the depth information which will represent this object? So one thing is to use the brightness information. One thing is used to use the brightness information or the brightness of each of these lines. So we have these lines, we have this lines. No, we have some lines which are used in a mesh form to display this object. So one thing is we will use the light intensity or the brightness information for these lines. So like this point will have the maximum brightness. So this point will have the maximum brightness, and the rare point will have the minimum brightness or the very minimum brightness. And the lines along this path will be in the range of this maximum brightness to minimum brightness. So if the brightness is 100% here, somewhere down this point it will be 90%, 80%. So in 100% of the brightness, 90% of the brightness, 80% of the brightness, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, like that. So like that they will decide. So this is the depth queuing methodology. So so this is used for identifying which is the front side of the object and which is the back side of the object. So how do we do that means? How do we do this means? By using the lines, by using the line segments of different brightness, by using the light segments of different brightness. So the line which is in front of the viewer will have the maximum brightness, and the line which is very far away from the user will have very low brightness. So this is how we are using. So this is how we are using. So the brightness of the line will decrease as it moves away from the viewer, as it move it away from the user. How do we decide the arrangements? We will select the maximum brightness and we will select the minimum brightness, and then in between those maximum to minimum brightness, we will choose the range of intensity to which we will be varying. So this is regarding the depth queuing. So basic objective of this is used to identify the front surface as well as the back surface, the front end and the back end of the object. So for this, we will be using this methodology. So apart from this, we have some more techniques. We have some more techniques which we will study now. So one thing is, so this is one method. So what are the other methods in which you can identify the front surface, or you can identify, or you can view a three-dimension object? So one more technique is identifying visible lines and surfaces, identifying visible lines and surfaces. So this is also one of the techniques. So this is also one of the technique. So the second method is you can identify the depth relationship in a in a wireframe display by using this technique also. So one technique to identify the depth information for a wireframe display is, see, what is wireframe display means? You can see this object is displayed in the form of a mesh form. So something called the lines. So that lines, they're calling it as the wire. So So apart from this depth queuing technique, we have some more techniques. We have some more techniques in which we can use to identify the depth of an object. So um, one thing is identifying the visible lines and surfaces. So here, what is the approach we are following is, see, one thing is to highlight highlight the visible surfaces or the visible lines, and see, one thing is, here we will highlight the visible lines. We will highlight the visible lines, and we will display them in a different color. So one thing is, the technique which is followed here is identify the visible lines or display those lines in different colors. So another technique is, um, the lines which are not visible. The lines which are not visible, so you represent them in dashed lines. So this is the technique. So this is the technique which is followed in identifying visible lines and surfaces. Or you can also remove the lines that are not visible. So one technique is identifying, highlight the visible lines, or display those visible lines in different color. Or second technique is remove the non-visible lines or display those non-visible lines in dashed color. So like this. So this is the example. So this is the this you can take it as, so this is the methodology that is followed in this identifying visible lines and surface. For example, we have an object. So assume that we have an object. So we have an object. So for this object, one second, I'll draw this. We have an object. We have an object. Okay. So we have one 3D object. So we assume that we have one 3D object. So for this, you can clearly know that this is the back side of the surface or the non-visible portion. This is the non-visible portion. So if you're using this method means one thing, one thing one thing which you can do is you can remove this line. So you can remove this line to get an image like this. To get an image like this. Uh, so removing this line. So one thing is you can remove this line. So once you remove this line, you will get this image. You will get this image. So assume that, see, this depends on the way in which the user will see the object also. Um, so this line, if this line is the non-visible line, so you can remove this, you will get the image. If this is the non-visible line, so it depends on the direction in which the user is seeing the object. So if I remove this line, if for the same image, see, if when I'm looking from here, this might be my non-visible line. So if someone is checking from the other direction, for him this will be the non-visible line. So this will be the hidden line. So if he removes, if that is a non-visible line, means even that line can also be removed. So if he removes that line, so the image will be somewhat like this. The image will be somewhat like this. So this is the technique which is used in identifying visible lines and surfaces. So what we are doing here means, we will highlight the visible lines or we'll display them in different colors, or we will display the non-visible lines as dashed line, so that the line which I've removed, I can represent it in dashed line also, or I will just remove it from the display. So this is what I've done. I've just removed it from the display, which is shown in the below figure, which is shown in the figure which I've written. So one thing is, so if you're removing the hidden lines, it will also remove information about the shape of the back surface of the object. So one thing which we will lose is, so if you're trying to remove that line, so you will also lose the information about the shape of the back surface of the object. um, and also this wire representation are generally used to get an indication of the object's overall surfaces, overall appearances, and the front and the back view. So, so when realistic view, when you want to produce a realistic view for a scene, the backside portion of the object will be completely eliminated, so that only the visible surfaces will be displayed. So what we will do in graphical application or computer graphics is we will use a surface rendering process, um, so that the display will contain only the color patterns for the front surfaces. So this is the one aspect of identifying visible lines and surfaces. So what I told now, so if you want to display a realistic view of a scene, so the back portions of the object will be completely eliminated, only the visible surfaces will be displayed. So in that case, what we are using one more technique called surface rendering technique. So what it will do means it's a process which will be applied so that only on the display device only certain color pattern for the front surfaces will be displayed. So it will contain only the color pattern for the front surface. So one more technique which is used is surface rendering. So we are using one more technique called surface rendering. So this is also one of the technique to view the three-dimensional object. So what is this? So um, see what the surface rendering will do means it will add realism. It will add realism to the object. It will add realism to the object in the display device by by rendering the object surfaces using using lighting conditions in the scene. I mean, by assigning the lighting condition to the scene, and also it will assign the surface characteristics. How do you set the lighting condition means? We have seen in the last module, like we have two different light sources. One is a point light source, and the other one is a light from the distance source. So the light condition will be set by specifying the color that the object is producing, that the light object is producing, and also the location, and also the location of the light source, and also location of the light source. So in addition to these things, you can also set the background effects, also background illumination effects also, and and the surface property of the objects, like whether the surface is transparent, or whether the surface is opaque, or whether the surface is smooth, or whether the surface is rough. So all these parameters can be set to model the objects, to model the objects. See, the surfaces can be like the glass surface, it can be a plastic surface, it can have the patterns like hood and grain pattern, like that. So um, so these all these techniques will be used in surface rendering, and also in color plate, in also in the color plate, like what the surface rendering methods will do means they will be combined with visible surface identification and perspective surface identification and visible surface identification to generate a degree of realism in the displayed scene, or in a display scene. So this is regarding surface rendering. This is regarding the surface rendering. So what is the surface rendering means? It is used to add realism um, in the output devices or in the displays by rendering the objects, by taking the object surfaces, by rendering the object surfaces using the light condition, by using the light conditions in a scene. So by making use of the light condition in the scene, here we are able to add realism to the display. So how do we set the alignments? How do we add this means? We will set the lighting condition by two things. One thing is we'll specify the location of the light source, and the second thing is we'll specify the color of the light. So by specifying the color and the location, we are uh, we are setting the lighting condition for that scene, and also we can also give the background effects. Also, we can also specify the background illumination effects. So after this thing, you're adding the realism. One is by setting the lighting condition, and the second thing is surface, assigning the surface characteristics. So the surface property of the objects are like, so what are the surface properties of the object? Whether the object is transparent, opaque, or whether the surface is rough, or whether the surface is smooth. So all these things. So these are the characteristics, or these are the properties. So so we can set the values for these parameters for surfaces, to model the surfaces. Like that, the surface can be glass surface, it can be a plastic surface, it can be a grain pattern surface, like that. And also, if you want to add more realism, so you can combine the surface rendering methods with perspective and visible surface identification to generate some degree of realism in the displayed scene. So this is regarding the surface rendering thing. So after this we have one more method, um, exploded and cutaway views. So exploded and cutaway views. So what is this exploded and cutaway views means? See, graphic packages will allow the objects to be defined in the hierarchical pattern. So hierarchical structure such that the internal details of that objects can be stored. So then see, graphic packages will allow the objects to be displayed as an hierarchical pattern in which the internal details of that object can be stored. So this method, what it will do means, this exploded and cutaway views of such objects can be used to show the internal structure of the object and the relationship of the object parts. So what this method is doing means, it will remove the part of the visible surface. It will remove the part of the visible surface to show the internal structure. So part of the visible surface will be removed to show the internal structure. So this is the exploded and cutaway views. So graphic application objects will be defined as an hierarchical pattern or hierarchical structure where the internal details will be stored. So what this method will do means, this method can be used to show the internal structure and the relationship of the object parts. So how do we do that means, the visible component or the visible surfaces will be removed. Some part of the visible surface will be removed to show the internal structure. So this is the another way. This is the one way of viewing the three-dimension scene. And the last one is um, 3D, three-dimensional and stereoscopic viewing. So what is this method? Um, See here in this method, this 3D, three-dimensional and stereoscopic viewing. So this methodology is also used for adding a sense of realism for a computer generated scene. So here, uh, how do you obtain this three-dimensional viewing means, uh, you will reflect a raster image. You will reflect a raster image from from a vibrating flexible mirror. So how do we generate the 3D view in this methodology means, we will obtain this 3D view by reflecting a raster image from a vibrating flexible mirror. So we will get the first thing is, we will get a raster image. Will reflect a raster image from a vibrating flexible mirror. So this is how you will get the view. So here the vibration of the mirrors are synchronized with the display of the scene. So next, see, first thing is, how do you obtain the image? The image will be obtained by reflecting a raster image from the vibrating flexible mirror. So once this is done, the vibrations of the mirror is synchronized in such a way that it is synchronized with the display of the scene on the CRT, on the cathode ray tube. As the mirror vibrates, the focal length varies from each point on the scene, um, which will be reflected to a spatial position that corresponds to the depth. So what this devices will do, what the stereoscopic devices will give is, it will give us the two views of a scene. So one for the left eye and the second for the right eye. So the viewing position corresponds to the eye position of the viewer. So these two views are displayed on alternate refresh cycles on a raster monitor. So when we view the monitor through a special glass, which will which will alternately darken the first one lens and then the second lens in synchronization with the monitor refresh cycle. So so we see so that is how we see the scene with a three-dimensional effect. So this is the working. So this is the working of this 3D and stereoscopic viewing. How this method will work means, first thing is, um, the view will be obtained by reflecting a raster image from a vibrating flexible mirror. So the vibration of the mirror will be synchronized with the display of the scene on the CRT. So as this mirror vibrates, the focal length varies from each point on the scene to corresponding spatial point, which corresponds to the depth. So this device will give us the two viewings, the two scenes. This will give two views for a scene. So one for the left eye and the other one for the right eye. So these two views will be displayed on the alternate refresh cycle of the raster monitor. So when you're checking the monitor through a special glasses, what that glass will do means that will first darken the left side first lens, that will darken the first lens, followed by the next lens alternatively in synchronization with the monitor refresh cycle. So because of this process, you will see the scene as you will see the scene displayed with the 3D effect. So you can see some applications can be like, you will be seeing some movies, no? Some movies where they will ask you to wear some special spectacles to get a 3D view of a movie. So in some movies, they would uh, they would have picturized, they would have rendered using this kind of methodology. The same thing by using the special spectacles, you are able to see the images on the screen in the form of 3D. So these are the various methods um, that are being employed for displaying or for viewing a three-dimension scene. So you can see that. So what and all we have studied. So first thing was the camera parameter or the view plane, then the parallel projection, perspective projection, depth queuing, then identifying the visible lines and surfaces, surface rendering, exploded and cutaway views, and 3D and the stereoscopic views. So these are the ways in which you can see a three-dimension viewing. So you should have idea about this. You should have um, idea about all this things. So now this is regarding um, the three-dimensional viewing. So what and all we have studied under this 3D viewing concept means, one is how do you view a three-dimensional scene? One is through the camera plane, one is through the camera parameters or the view plane, and the second one was through projection, in projection, parallel projection, perspective projection, and the depth queuing. So identifying the depth to identify the front surface and back surface of the object, then identifying the visible lines and surfaces to add the realism, surface rendering to check the internal view of an object, internal structure of an object, exploded and cutaway views, and then the 3D and stereoscopic viewing. So after this, the next thing is three-dimensional piping. So we have seen the two-dimensional pipeline. So now we will be checking about this dimensional pipeline. One second. So what is this three-dimensional viewing pipeline? So see, um, see the process of generating the computer graphics view of a 3D scene is same or similar to taking a photograph. It is similar to a process of taking a photograph. So first thing is, see, the process of generating a 3D scene, the process of generating a view of a 3D scene is somewhat similar to the process of taking a photograph. So what process is involved when you're taking a photograph means, first thing is you should check the position. You should decide the viewing position where you're going to place the camera. So when you're taking a photograph, the first thing is you need to check from which position you are going to take the image. So that is a position where you're going to place the camera. So you can decide this viewing position according to whether you want to take the front side of the scene, whether you want to take the back side of the scene, or whether you want to take the side face of the scene, like that. So for example, the first thing is you have to decide about the viewing position. The first thing is you have to decide about the viewing position. So in this example, so you can decide whether you want to take the front side of the scene. The front side of the scene will be somewhat like this, or whether you want to take the top view of the scene, or whether you want to take the side face of the scene, like this, or whether you want to take the bottom side of the screen. So this is the first thing is you have to choose the viewing position where you want to display the front side of the scene, top side of the scene, back side of the scene, or bottom side of the scene. So based on that, you can decide the viewing position, and you can also pick a position. You can also pick a position in the middle of the group of objects, or even inside a single object also. So first thing is you have to decide the viewing position. The next thing is you have to decide the orientation, the angle. So whether you want to point the camera from the viewing position, or whether you want to rotate it around the line of the sight from the viewing position, or um, whether you want to rotate the camera around the line of sight, like this. So first thing is the viewing position. The second thing is the orientation. So in which angle you want to take the picture. So once that is done, you will finally take the picture. Then then the image will be cropped to the size of the clipping window, which will correspond to the lens type of the camera, and light from the visible surfaces will be projected onto the camera. So this is the working of camera. This is the working of the camera. So here what you are manually doing is you're checking the position and the orientation. After that, you will take the camera. So when you click on that, when you press on the button which will capture the picture, so what it will do means, see, whatever is within the frame of that camera, so only that portion will be visible, only that portion will be captured. So that is what. So when you capture the image, the scene will be cropped to the size of the clipping window. The size of the clipping window means the frame. So after that, see, when you're taking the camera, the lights, based on the lighting condition itself. So when you're trying to take the image where the light is not there, or you're trying to take the same, or you're trying to capture an object during the evening. So at that time, the sunlight will be the light will not be that much, so the object will look darker when compared to capturing the same image uh, on in the afternoon. So like that. So based on the lighting effects, based on the aperture of the camera, the image will be uh, captured, and it will be projected on the camera film. So the same process will be used in this 3D pipeline also. So here, um, So the same thing can be used, but here we have some when it comes to this 3D viewing pipeline, so we have some flexibility for getting the view of a scene by using the computer graphics program then with the real camera, because we can decide whether we want to use the parallel projection or perspective projection, and also we can remove some part of the scene which are not there in our line of sight. And also you can also move the camera, you can also move this projection plane away from the camera position, or you can also get a picture of the object in the back of our camera also. So some flexibility is there, so that we are following the same process, but we have some flexibilities like like you can we can choose the projection, we can choose the projection whether we want the parallel projection or perspective projection. And also we can eliminate some part of the scenes which are not along our line of sight. And also we can move the parallel projection or the projection plane, we can move the projection plane away from the camera position also. So like this um, we can have. So how do we do that? So see, the operations for three-dimensional scene are same as the one which we had used for the 2D pipeline also. So in two-dimensional pipeline, so viewport was used to position a projected view of the object or the projected view of the scene on the output device, and then two-dimension clipping window was used to select a view that will be mapped onto the viewport. So in addition to this thing, what we will do means we will set up a display window in the screen coordinates, just like the one which we were using in the 2D um, viewing pipeline. So here clipping window, viewports, display window will be specified as rectangles with their edges, with their boundaries parallel to the coordinate axis. So in 3D viewing, the clipping window will be positioned on the selected view planes, and the scenes will be clipped against the volume of the space which will be defined by the clipping planes. So here the viewing position, the viewing plane, the clipping window and the clipping planes all will be specified with respect to the viewing coordinate reference system. Viewing coordinate reference system. So you can see this image. So this image is a general processing steps for creating and transforming a 3D scene to the device coordinate. So you can see that you're performing this operations from modeling from one system to here. So these are the steps that are followed. So this is a general processing steps for this is a general processing steps that are used. This is a general processing steps. One second. This is a general processing steps. Uh, general processing steps that are one second. Some some disturbance is there. One ನಿಮಿಷ. These are the see one second. There was some disturbance. So we have five steps. So we have five steps. So what this image is showing is these are the general steps which we will be using for creating and transforming a scene from the modeling coordinate, from the word coordinates to the device coordinates. So once the scene has been once the scene has been modeled, once the scene has been modeled in the world coordinates, then the viewing coordinates will be generated. Once the viewing coordinate is generated, then you will get the projected coordinates. Once the projected coordinates is generated, you will normalize that. So once the normalization is done, then you can display it on the display device using the viewing transformation. So you can see we are using the modeling transformation, viewing transformation, projection transformation, normalization and clipping, and viewport transformation. So these are the process that are involved. So these are the process that are involved in getting the system from the modeling, from getting from world coordinates reference to the device coordinate reference. So this is this is the process. So this is the process which is involved in the three-dimensional viewing pipeline. Um, so what you can do means here the viewing coordinates, here the viewing coordinate system. So you can see the one which is on the top side, the VC. So here the viewing coordinate system will give us the viewing parameter like the position and orientation of the view plane. So which is like the camera parameter which we have studied, and also the two-dimensional clipping window which will correspond to the selected camera lens is defined on the projection plane, and also this three-dimensional clipping region will be established. So this thing which is established um, on this part, we will call it as the view volume. We will call it as the view volume, and the size of this view volume will depends on the dimension of the clipping window, the type of the projection which we are choosing, and the selected positions along the viewing direction. So the projection operations will be performed to convert this viewing coordinate description to the from see the projection will be performed to convert from this VC to PC. So you can see that the projection transformation block which is done. So what this will do means we are applying the projection. We are applying the projection to convert from the viewing coordinate description of the scene to the coordinate positions on the projection planes. Once this is done, once the projection is done, the next step will be the normalization. Normalization means the objects which are there within the clipping window will be displayed, and the objects that are outside the range of the clipping window will be eliminated. So that will perform the clipping operation. So that will be performed in normalization, transformation, and um, clipping. Once this is done, once this is done, the next step is the viewport transformation. Once this is done, then last step will be viewport transformation. So what we will do in the viewport transformation means the normalized coordinate system. The normalized coordinates will be transformed to the viewport coordinates after the clipping operation. So the task which will be performed here will be like identifying the visible surface, applying the surface rendering process uh, procedures. This is the process that is being involved in 3D viewing pipeline. The final steps will be like to map the viewport coordinates to the device coordinate with selected display window. Then the scene description in the device coordinates are expressed with respect to the uh, reference frame, so that the distance from the display screen can be used to measure the depth value for a scene. So this is regarding the three-dimension viewing pipeline. So these are the steps that are there. So here you can here you should know for each block what is the operation that will be performed. So one thing which we are studying extra is the projection transformation. So what will be done in the projection transformation, and in addition to that in the normalization clipping, all these things we have studied in the 2D pipeline also, but here we should know about the projection transformation and projection transformation. And when it comes to viewing transformation, how we are viewing the object, so like we are checking the position, angle, all these things. No, so these two blocks you should like these are the additional things with respect to what we have studied in 2D dimensions. Okay, I'll stop the class now. So any doubts? Any doubts with respect to this? Any doubts with respect to this? Any doubts?